CDL Major 3 is here, so let's rank the teams heading into the event. We have the official bracket here on screen, which the matches are going to be starting on Thursday, and honestly, it looks pretty good. We got a lot of really great matchups here in Winners Round 1, but what I want to do is I want to rank the teams here in these tiers that I have. Usually I do a power ranking on Mondays, but honestly, the rankings didn't really shift all that much, so I figured this would be more fun to actually talk about what I think could happen for each team at the major this coming week. And starting it off with the Carolina Royal Ravens, for me personally, I'm going to put them in the mid tier. I think this Ravens team, you know, shows flashes here and there, but coming off a fresh roster change, they just haven't shown a whole lot, especially this stage just generally, that makes me believe they can even be a dark horse. Now, I mean, it's no disrespect to the Ravens, but you can look at their schedule from this split, and the only teams they're able to beat are ones that, like, they really should be beating. They don't really feel like they can beat a lot of these top teams. They got reverse swept by the Surge, so I guess they almost had it done there, but ultimately, this team just, to me, just feels like they're like a team that might get a top 6 again, or kind of in and around that range that they feel like they usually are, but I just don't really think they can make a run. Next up, we have LAG Gentlemates. I mean, they're going in the booty cheeks tier, right? These guys are not very good. They're not very good, if we're being honest. I mean, they went 0-5 this split with the new roster. They only won 3 maps across their 5 series. They're by far the worst team this split statistically. They have, as they continue to do all season, shown flashes of, like, keeping maps close or even having leads and then bottling it, which is really disappointing. And maybe this team will be Landimals, right? I mean, you got Fellow, right? A veteran in the scene. You got Johnny, who I feel like is a quality player, has been pretty good in this game. Maybe they'll do something, but I mean, they did have a hard schedule, I guess, right? If we look at the teams they played, they did have a hard schedule. Also, I apologize for how bright my camera is. It is so sunny outside. My blinds are just not doing enough work right now, so I look extra pale. But next up, we have the Boston Breach. And to me, I'll put them in the dark horse tier. I think Boston's one of those teams that we saw at Major 2, where they beat LAT in Winners Round 1. If you go into the series underestimating them, they can punish you. To me, Snoopy is honestly one of the better players in this game, right? I mean, top 10, top 15 for sure in that range, I think. And Boston's just a team that I don't think you can ever count out. They're also coming in as the number 2 seed here, and they're playing Optic Texas in Winners Round 1, which, to be honest, is probably, unfortunately for Optic fans, one of the better matchups that you can kind of pull in Winners Round 1. But, I mean, they beat Toronto Ultra. I know there were some lag issues in that one. They lost the Game 5 to the Rocker, but then they beat LAG, they beat Cloud9, and they beat Falcons, right? Not really the hardest schedule for Boston, but to me, they're just still a team that, like, I mean, listen, I saw what they did to my guys at the last major. I'm not going to underestimate them, and I don't think anybody should. Next up, we have Toronto Ultra, and for me, I think they have winning potential. I actually do believe this Ultra team is primed to win an event. I think they should be looked at as one of the favorites to win Major 3. Despite going 4-1, they somehow got the 5 seed, right? Because there are 5 teams that went 4-1 this split, which is insane. But listen, they beat Atlanta FaZe, they beat LA Thieves, they beat Miami Heretics, who they're also playing in Winners Round 1 at the event. They beat LAG, but, you know, we already talked about them. They lost to Boston. Obviously, there were some lag server issues in that one, so I'm not really looking into that series all that much. To me, this Ultra team just looks really good. They're the only team in the league right now to have a winning record versus FaZe and LAT, right? They've beaten both of those teams twice and haven't lost to them twice, so they have a winning record. I really just think this team is looking really, really good. To me, I think if Kleenex plays really well on LAN, I think we know Joe DeCease is going to do his thing. I think we know Beans is going to do his thing. Insight is always there doing his job. If Kleenex can be on point for this team, I really, really think they can make a run and potentially win the event. Then we got Atlanta FaZe, and I mean, I'm going to put them at number 1 in the winning potential tier, obviously, right? I mean, these guys are on back-to-back-to-back lands. They've won both events this season. I know this online split for them was a little bit disappointing, and they do have Vancouver Surge in Winners Round 1, which should be a banger, but FaZe on LAN, they just get better. Their hardpoint has been a little hit or miss recently, but I expect them to play well. And I mean, looking at the split they had, right, they lost to Ultra in Game 5. They lost to Miami Heretics, which maybe is a bit surprising, but FaZe does a lot of map testing online. Sorry, I'm still trying to get my camera to, like, not be so bright, but I can't really do anything. But they test a lot of map pool online. They still were able to get some good wins over some mid-pack teams. And like I'm just going to continue to say, it's FaZe. Once they go to LAN, you know they're going to play their best COD. And if you haven't already, you should check out Agent Picks. It's linked down below. You can use my code for up to a $100 deposit match and a 3% winnings boost. I truly think it's better than Prize Picks and Underdog. There's more lines available. You can see here on screen. We got KD lines. We got damage lines. It's super fun. And my picks have been hitting. So if you want to see what's going on, tune into the streams. We could talk about picks in there. But remember to always gamble responsibly. But check the link down below. Next up, we got Cloud9 New York. And for me personally, I'm putting them in the booty cheeks tier. C9 just does not impress me. I think this is a team that should have made a change a while ago. I know they kind of do look better on LAN typically, but they just don't move me. And I do believe they end up playing the loser of FaZe versus Surge in losers round 1, which definitely plays a factor in this because I don't think they're beating either of those teams. But C9 went 1-4 this split. They did pull off that reverse sweep versus Minnesota Rocker to stop them from going 0-5. But they've only won 5 maps this split. They were the second worst team in the qualifiers. They did play LAT, right? They did play Surge. They did play Breach, some of the top teams. They lost to Optic, and I mean, Optic looked really good on that day, to their credit, but obviously with what we've seen from Optic previously, maybe that's not as good of a 3-0 loss to Optic, right? Is probably not a good thing at this point in the league. So to me, I just think C9 needs to make a change. I think they need to go at top 12, which they probably will. They need to make a change, whether it's for Attach or for Mac or for both, and hope they can go into Major 4 and potentially qualify for champs. And if not, at least play well at EWC. Next up, we got the Minnesota Rocker. And for me, a Rocker could slot into two different tiers, right? I think they could be mid, or I think they could be Dark Horse. I'm personally going to drop them into the Dark Horse tier. I actually think this Rocker team is a Dark Horse for one reason, and that reason is when Nero and Geo play well together, I feel like this team really has potential to upset some top teams. The problem is I feel like that only happens like 50% of the time. Like half the time, one of them is having an off day or an off map, and the other one's playing well. And I think maybe with Kenny on LAN, it can kind of help them lock in and like get right for these matches. But it really is going to come down to the consistency across those two, because they can be the biggest catalyst for their slaying. They did go 1-4, right? But they did have a 10-14 map count, which when you think about the fact they went 1-4 and were only, 4 maps under a 500 map count is not too shabby, or even 2, right? If they won 2 more, they would have lost 2 less and would have been 12-12. But just haven't been able to close out series. They should be beating Cloud9 New York, honestly, in my opinion, and maybe even a team like Optic if they want to be contenders for something. But losing to or beating Boston is a good W. Losing to Ravens, losing to Miami, right? 2 of the sort of middle of the pack. Miami's definitely on the rise type teams. Like I said, these guys are either mid or Dark Horse. I'm going to give them some credit because I'm a big Kenny fan, right? And I also really like all the guys on this team. I think they have so much potential. It's just the consistency across the board. It's only like half the team is on half the time. So they need to all be locked in and playing good COD. And I do think there's cause for some upsets. Next up, we have the Vancouver Surge. And maybe this is a hot take, but I'm going to put them in the borderline tier. To me, the Vancouver Surge just don't feel like they can regularly compete with the other top 3 teams in the game. And right, we already see 2 of them on here. I think we know who the third team is going to be in probably my top 3. I do believe Surge could win, but for me, I think it comes down to matchups. Like, I just don't feel confident about them against FaZe. I don't feel confident about them against Thieves. And even though we have seen them beat Ultra on LAN at the last major, I think Ultra's playing even better COD than they were. And to me, Surge are kind of not as good as they were previously. Now, I mean, with all that being said, they did go 4-1 this split, right? They got 3-0'd by LAT. They've struggled to beat the Thieves so far this season. But they beat Falcons, they beat LAG, they beat Ravens, they beat C9. Honestly, not really any top upper half teams really that they beat in this split, right? Maybe you can kind of give a nod to Ravens or even Falcons if you really see the potential in that team. But to me, I just think Surge need to get a good matchup. Like, they need Thieves and FaZe to play and one of them knock each other out, or Ultra and Thieves or Ultra and FaZe knock each other out, and then hopefully can make a grand final where they only have to beat one of those teams one time, and that's where I feel like they can really shine. But ultimately, they're a team that I'd be pretty confident in getting a top 4. Next up, we got LAT, and I mean, I think they have winning potential. I think, honestly, going into the event, I would put them 3rd, right, as I have in this tier. I'm trying to do these tiers in order, by the way, if you haven't noticed. I would have LAT 3rd. Obviously, as an LAT fan, I'm biased. Of course, I think they can win, but you're looking at a back-to-back-to-back LAN team champions in FaZe. You're looking at a team that just beat LAT on LAN and online in back-to-back matches in Toronto Ultra, who I think is playing some of their best COD this season. LAT truly, to me, just needs to play team COD, and they can win this event. The individual performances are there. They're not really, when they lose, right, it's not because like, oh, Envoy got farmed or Ghosty got farmed or Hydra had a bad series. Generally, it's just because the team is not playing COD well together. And looking at what they did this split, right, only 1 loss coming to Toronto Ultra in Game 5. They did not drop a map to any other team this split, right? 3-0 over Surge is a great win. 3 over C9s, whatever. 3 over LAGs, whatever. And then honestly, Ravens is a team that LAT teams to beat. So kind of an easier-ish schedule for the Thieves this split, especially considering matchups they've had throughout this season. To me, they just need to play really well. I really think FaZe and Ultra are going to be the only teams that can compete with them at this event and could definitely beat them. So that's why I have them third in the winning potential tier. Next up, we got the Vegas Falcons. And I honestly, similar to the Rocker, I think they fit into either the dark horse or the mid tier. And to me, I'm going to put them in the dark horse tier, bro. I think this Vegas team on land could potentially cause some upsets. Now, Vegas does end up playing the loser of Boston or Optic. So, to be honest, both of those teams they can win, right? I mean, they beat Optic this stage. They lost to Boston in a Game 5, Round 11 they actually got reverse swept, which is kind of crazy yesterday on Sunday. But I do think they're capable of beating either one of those teams. And the reason I think they're a dark horse is I feel like you have Pred, who's always pretty good on land, right? You have Xnid, who's bringing energy, who I think his first land with a real team is going to play as absolute best he can. And then you have two veterans in Arcides and Priesta, who I think are really trying to prove themselves and also can bring the right mindset to a team that's trying to make a run that maybe a lot of people are counting out, especially Arcides. This is his first LAN. I guess he probably played in some LANs last year, right, with Surge, but I feel like this is really a LAN where he's trying to prove what he can bring to a team that he's finally back in the league. And I could see them causing some upsets. I genuinely can see them causing some upsets, especially if a team goes into this thinking, oh, it's just Falcons, we should be fine. And then they beat them. And they're also really, really good at hardpoint, which is, listen, if you could win a map 1 in a series, you set yourself off on the right foot. And you kind of can, instill a little bit of fear in your opponents because they could be down 0-1 on the main stage. And the crowd is going to be behind the Falcons for sure. So I think they might be a dark horse. And also, I guess it's important to note, when I say like dark horse, I don't think these teams are winning an event. I think they're more of a dark horse that could potentially cause an upset or even make a run for top 4. But you can see by my winning potential tier, these are the only teams I really think that can probably win. But I would love to be surprised. Also, I just realized that went away. Next up, we got the Miami Heretics. And I'm going to slot them in the borderline tier as well. And my reason for doing so is they look really good, but we have not seen this team play on land. So it's hard to say like how Super is going to play and how this team is going to play when they get on land. We saw them get top 3 at Major 1. We saw them get top 12 at Major 2. Now you bring in Super, you go 4-1. You look really, really good. Your only loss is to the Toronto Ultra. I just think they're borderline. Like, I think they're a team that's still so unknown that it's hard to judge them perfectly. But they beat a Falcons team who I think's a dark horse. They beat a FaZe team who I think's a winning potential. They beat a Rocker team who I think's a dark horse. They beat Optic, and they lost to Toronto. This team, if they play the way they've been online, can definitely contend. Can they consistently beat FaZe on land, Thieves, Ultra? Probably not, which is why I have them on that borderline tier. But I think they have T4 potential. And last but certainly not least, we have Optic Texas. And hopefully no Optic fans hate me for this one, but I'm going to put them in the mid tier. I'll put you over Ravens. Why not? I'll put you over Ravens because you do have, Shotzi and Dashy who can take over a map for sure. Looking at the schedule, right? I mean, they started off great. They went 2-0, but then they lost the next 3. They lost to a good Miami team. They lost to a Dark Horse Falcons team. They lost to a good Atlanta FaZe team. I feel like at least yesterday versus FaZe, they showed some progress. I thought their listening was much better yesterday. I just don't think like this team, especially against the upper half teams, is going to have what it takes because Skies just doesn't really do a whole lot on the map for me. Like he doesn't super impress. Yesterday he played pretty good versus FaZe, at least in the first couple maps. But if he's not getting in the hill, which he for some reason hasn't been in the hill as much as you would think, right? If you look at his hard point, he's at 63, which is tied with Dashy. But I feel like on this Optic team, I guess on this Optic team, he has hit in the hill a little bit more than Dashy. But I feel like this number's got to go up, bro. Just let Dashy run around and get kills because Dashy's, 26 kills per 10. Skies is at 21 at 0.86 in hard point. But he's not even in the hill all that much. Like he's definitely in the upper percentage of players. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this Optic team on LAN. I would love to see them make a run, right? Because I think it's always better for the scene when Optic's playing well. But I just don't have my hopes up for him. I think now that I talked about Optic, I'm going to drop Rocker down to the mid tier. Optic did beat this team, right? So I think they're kind of just all like these 3 teams in the mid tier are kind of the epitome of mid. Like sometimes they play well and win. Sometimes they get absolutely slammed. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of in between. So this is kind of my tier list, my tiers heading into Major 3 this week. I'm going to be watch partying all weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you want to come hang out, pop in for the pre-show, tune in for a match, something like that, I will be here on the channel. So sub, turn noties on. But let me know, who do you think is winning Major 3 in the comments? And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.